Hey everybody! So today we're going to talk some more about the Galactic Center. But before we do that, I want to start off with my disclaimer that I am not an expert on the Galactic Center. This is literally just fucking around with astrology, fucking around with ideas of what might be going on there. I am not claiming that this is universally right, that this is even at all right or correct. So nobody hold me to any of this. This is really just fucking with astrology here. So to start out, okay, so last night I was writing a blog post about the GC, and I was writing a blog post about the out of bounds planets and how I think they might tie into the Galactic Center somehow, or the energy about out of bounds planets is kind of, it seems to be somewhat similar to the Galactic Center energy. There does seem to be a common thread, and also a lot of the people that I've looked at so far, like famous whistleblowers, truth tellers, conspiracy theorists, what have you, like 71% of them have out of bounds planets, and the ones that don't really, I'm almost wondering if they should even be on this list. Not because they're not whistleblowers or conspiracy theorists or truth tellers, but I have my questions if they should even, except for Frank Serpico, he should be on this, on the main list. But like Julian Assange, Alex Jones, Gary Webb, I wonder if they should actually be on this list. I'll get into that at another time. But I was looking at Julian Assange, his Wikipedia, and I noticed a quote that he said that he said back in 2010 to Anorak News. He was talking about his role in WikiLeaks. I believe that was the context of this quote. He said, "We always expect tremendous criticism. It is my role to be the lightning rod, to attract the attacks against the organization for our work, and that is a difficult role. On the other hand, I get undue credit." Now, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about this. I don't really know why this caught my attention the way that it did, but it did. And then I start to think to myself, lightning rods. Okay, this fucker has, and I say that, I don't mean like in a bad way. I just tend to say this fucker, whatever, you know. It's kind of how I talk. He doesn't have any planets conjunct the GC. Let me see. Let me pull up his chart real quick. He has no planets conjunct the Galactic Center. He only has Venus opposite the GC. Okay? Let me pull the chart up just so I can show you what I'm talking about, so you can see a visual. Now, the Galactic Center won't be pulled on this chart, but just to show you, Venus is over here. It's conjunct the Galactic Anti-Center, and then the Galactic Center would be over here. Now, I started thinking about the concept of lightning rods in terms of the Galactic Anti-Center. I'm going to write a blog post about this because I might be able to formulate this better in words, like in typing and in writing, than I can verbally. But I want to put this out verbally too. I don't know why, I just do. Okay, so the actual definition of a lightning rod is a metal-mounted structure intended to protect the structure from a lightning strike. Yeah. So a lightning rod, and it's like an attractor. They're also called lightning attractors. They essentially, obviously they attract the lightning to it, so the lightning will hit that rather than hitting a building or hitting, whatever. Okay. So I started having this thought that a lightning rod, the way that he described himself, that's a great way for him to describe himself. It really is. That's That is what he is. And then I started thinking about his chart and how he doesn't have anything conjunct the Galactic Center. He has Venus conjunct the Anti-Center. I almost wonder if the Galactic Anti-Center can act as a lightning rod. Now, let me try to flesh out exactly why my mind is going that way. Okay, so the Galactic Center, I've talked about it before. There's a lot of charge, there's a lot of energy there, there's a lot of shit going on, right? And this is the case even if there are planets conjunct the GC or not. There's a lot of shit going on in the GC. There just is. So there's all this energy. And it's almost like the point opposite the GC takes some of the impact. And maybe that's where that charge comes from. Like, I'm kind of thinking of it like, if the area around the GC, whether there were planets there or not in your chart, and I know the bulk of our what we've been looking at, what I've been looking at, is people with, conjunct the GC, but I think this is probably the case regardless. There's so much shit going on there that it's almost like the actual strike or something like a strike also happens on the opposite end. Now, I've also mentioned before that I think the Galactic Anti-Center is like, it's off by itself. It's in the far away from all the busyness of the Galactic Center. It's on the opposite end of the, in the sky. It's near a very bright star. It actually is in the sky. That can blind it. There's also a lot of like space dust and bullshit around it. But I'm almost wondering if like the blinding that I've been talking about with this star, maybe it's not just from the star. Translating it to reading a chart, right? Obviously there's not lightning in the Galactic Anti-Center, but maybe when it gets shocks from the Galactic Center, it's blinding to that part of the chart. Now, I don't know. I would take a look at where the Galactic Anti-Center is in your chart by house. Obviously, you might not have anything there. You may or may not. But regardless if you do or don't, take a look at where it is in your chart. Where exactly, pull the Galactic Center on your chart. You won't be able to pull the Galactic Anti-Center, I don't think, but it'll be exactly opposite the Galactic Center. Look at that. Look at where that is by house and see if that area of your life, if that area of your life absorbs a lot of shock or seems to absorb like charges. But not in the way the Galactic Center does. The Galactic Center, it feels more, fluid's not the right word. It just is. If that makes sense. It just, all that energy is just there. This would be more like a, because that area of the sky is so calm, right? In the actual sky, because that area is so calm, if it's getting those lightning, it's getting all that shit thrown at it, it's going to shock the shit out of that area. And I would think that area of life could have some issues. I guess is what I'm saying. I think that area of life could have some issues. Now, let's also talk about grounding, because lightning rods are grounded, right? They're grounded into the ground. This brings up the notion of, I've talked about like the trines to the GC and the sextiles to the Galactic Anti-Center being like bringing it down to earth, bringing the Galactic Center shit down to earth. Okay, I think that kind of functions in the same way here. The stuff at the lightning bolts because I do think the Galactic Anti-Center could be like an attractor, in a sense. Getting the shit from the GC, being an attractor for like the extra charge or anything that that part of the chart just can't handle or absorb. Perhaps it gets then fed over to the Galactic Anti-Center, but that part is so calm that it doesn't know what to do with it, and it could be really shocking to that area of your life or a planet. If you've got a planet conjuncted, you could have some real issues with that planet. Holy shit, that's loud. Sorry. Okay, so then there's the grounding. The grounding from the Galactic Anti-Center probably does happen where the sextile is. The sextile, or 60 degrees from the Galactic Anti-Center, which would be, 27 degrees Leo, 27 degrees Aries, and, the 10 degrees applying and separating that I've been talking about using, That might be where it's grounded too. Like how I've talked about bringing the GC shit down to earth. It might function as a grounding for the shit that gets hit, that the Galactic Anti-Center is hit with. Maybe. I'm still trying to figure out exactly how I want to say this, but I do feel like this is on a track. It might be too early to say that it's the right track, but I do think it's a track. An A track that feels pretty good right now, or I feel like I'm on to something. Now, and again, it doesn't matter if you have planets conjunct the Galactic Center. Okay, I will say this. So let me say this. If you have a planet conjunct the Galactic Center, but you don't have anything opposite the GC, that area of your life is still going to take that impact. It just doesn't have anything to filter through. Like, it doesn't have a planet to go through. That area is just kind of there. So actually, if you don't have something opposite the Galactic Center, I don't want to say that it's harder, because that doesn't really feel right, but there might not be a real fluid what to translate it through. However, if you have a planet conjunct the Galactic Anti-Center or opposite the Galactic Center, there's a planet there there's a what there to translate those lightning strikes through. That right now, that feels like that really could be easier or more difficult. But if you have a planet conjunct the Galactic Center and you don't have anything conjunct the Galactic Anti-Center, it almost feels like it might be easier in some ways and more difficult in some ways. Same thing with if you only have planets conjunct the Galactic Anti-Center and nothing conjunct the Galactic Center. So you have all this shit going on at the Galactic Center. No planet there, but you've got all this shit going on, right? Everybody does, regardless of where it is in your chart. Everybody's got this somewhere. Regardless of, if their planet's conjunct or not, everybody has this. So if you don't have anything there, right, the energy is just doing what it does, but there's nothing to kind of filter that energy through, which actually there's no planet there to absorb it at first by conjunction. So that means that opposition, if you've got a planet opposite the Galactic Center or conjunct the Galactic Anti-Center, it seems like that you would be such a massive lightning rod. Like, you really would be such a massive lightning rod, because there's nothing there's no planet conjunct the Galactic Center to absorb anything. Everything just gets fed over there to the Anti-Center, and the Anti-Center is not as familiar with this energy. So it does feel like for people that just have the the oppositions to the GC without having the conjunctions, they feel like they might have the hardest time with this. Maybe I could see it playing out like that. What would probably make this easier is if they were grounded to, you know, a planet in 26-27 Leo, 26-27 Aries, or within that 10 degrees on either side applying separating. That might make that easier. Otherwise, I feel like you would just have a bunch of fucking lightning strikes hitting that calm ass area, and you might not have any idea where they come from, why they happen. It could make that part of your life very difficult, that area of your life very difficult. I would think. Now, if you've got both the opposition, if you have both the conjunctions to the Galactic Center and the oppositions to the Galactic Center, or conjunctions to the Anti-Center, there is a, I mentioned it before, I do think that there is a stark polarity. That sounds stupid because they're on opposite ends of the chart. So there's polarity, but there feels like there's a lot of polarity in this particular case. In this particular case, it feels more extreme. But for the people that have both, while they're very polarized, I do think that they can be very polarizing people in some way. They can be. They do have a planet to absorb some of the GC shit, conjunct the Galactic Center, and they also have a planet that's opposite the GC or conjunct the Anti-Center that can absorb that lightning strike, if you will. And because they've got planets on both ends, they are, it seems like, more familiar with the energy going on. So while not easy, I would not say that this is easy. They might be more familiar with the Galactic Center energy, and in the way that the way the lightning strikes, it feels like they might be a little bit more, I don't want to say comfortable, I don't think it's necessarily comfortable, but it's just known maybe more, understood more somewhere. That's kind of where I'm going with this. Anyway, I'm going to get going because this one got kind of long. If you want to follow us on Instagram, you can find us at Let's Fuck With Astrology. I am at Saturn Season Astrology on Instagram. Natalie is at Abaturno Astrology on Instagram. If you want to subscribe to us or whatever on YouTube, you can search for us by looking for Let's Fuck With Astrology. If you do the right thing, come join us on the subreddit Let's Fuck With Astrology. And if you're interested in the star cards, go to letsfuckwithastrology.com/star-cards. Okay, y'all. I'll see y'all later.